Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told out of OHOK. So today, I want to talk about, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, one of the very, very coolest new decks that I have seen in a long time, and one of the ones I am absolutely the most excited about. I am genuinely over the top hyped about Steelix. And we've talked about Steelix on this channel before, and I've told you that I am a fan of this new Steelix. So it's not even new anymore. It came out in Cosmic Eclipse. It came out a while back. But I've told you I'm a fan of this. I've told you I want it to work. And we might finally be at the stage where it actually does. We'll get there in a moment. Starting off with Steelix then as your main Pokemon. Yes, fine for 4 energy. You can do Iron Tail. Flip until you get tails, 100 damage for each head. Yes, you could play Glimwood Tangle, so you can reflip if you don't get the flips you want. But no, we are definitely not going to. It is all about the attack Thumping Fall. 2 colorless energy, 50 damage for each Pokemon you discard from your hand, and you can discard as many Pokemon with a retreat cost of exactly 4 from your hand as you like. So the theory here essentially is that you just discard a bunch of high retreat Pokemon from your hand, and then you do a huge amount of damage, and then you win, and then you have a wonderful, jolly old time. Sounds like fun, ladies and gentlemen. Sounds like fun. So what's changed? Because Steelix has been out since Cosmic Eclipse, and it ain't been good yet. And what has changed, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are getting Nessa. And we do have to go out of order, I'm afraid, here. It's quite important. And Nessa is a supporter card that lets you put into your hand from your discard pile 4 in any combination of water Pokemon and basic water energy. So essentially, the reason Steelix is so much better is very simple. We've now got Nessa that is one supporter that you can use to get 4 Pokemon back and basically guarantee 200 damage before doing anything else. And then, of course, there are other Pokemon you can just draw into, and you're good. So clearly here, outside of Onix and Steelix, they are your main attackers after all, be rude not to. What we really want here is we want a whole bunch of water Pokemon with a retreat cost of 4. And what we're actually doing is playing a whole bunch of stage 1s. The theory here being that we literally cannot start with them, so we can only start with Onix or our consistency Pokemon, because all of the others are stage 1s, we can't start with them. So honestly, any 4 retreat cost stage 1 or 2 water Pokemon will work nicely. I'll show you the ones that this particular person who won this tournament in Japan has chosen to go with, but there's no real reason for the count, if I'm honest with you. Now, we've got 2 copies of Wailord. I love Wailord. I would definitely go for Wailord. Love the art, love Wailord as a Pokemon. We're not going to bother talking about the attacks, and we're not going to bother talking about the abilities, because we are literally playing stage 1s so that we can never actually play them. We've then got 3 copies. They only played 2 Wailord. I don't understand why. It doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me. Wailord's amazing. We've got 3 copies of the Gyarados from Rebel Clash, 4 copies of the new Dreadnought, and I will say, it kind of does make sense playing 4 copies of the new Dreadnought, because you've got Nessa in the artwork, and then 1 copy of Golisopod, the one that came out in Unified Minds. You can muck around with this, play whichever Pokemon you prefer. I'm definitely going for Wailord. They've actually gone for, in total here, 10. But it really doesn't matter which ones you go for. There are, however, a couple of Pokemon that it does matter which one you go for. And one of the coolest here is Snorlax. Now, Snorlax here has a retreat cost of 3, which is annoying. But it's also got an ability which is literally Tropical Beach. Draw until you've got 7 cards in your hand, your turn ends. And you're playing a stage 1 Pokemon, and it's going to take at least a turn to set up. So having an option of Snorlax here is very, very cool. The other thing is, there are blatantly going to be times here where you just don't have enough Pokemon in hand to get yourself a KO. So just whack Snorlax in the active and go. You can afford to give up a turn. Now, not in every matchup, but if you're against single prize decks, you're only going to need 2, 3, 4 Pokemon max. And if you're against multiple prize decks, you will occasionally be able to just take a turn off while you reset, give up a prize with Snorlax, because your opponent is going to be behind on the prize trade. And then there's one copy of Oricorio. Oricorio's awesome in a deck like this. I love Oricorio in a deck like this. It's got the ability whereby if you had a Pokemon KO'd last turn, you draw 3 cards. And sure, there's going to be plenty of games where your opponent wants to boss his orders and KO it, but then they're not KOing your Steelix, and they're not getting rid of your energy. So you know what? It's probably not a terrible position to be in. Very cool deck. Plus, I like Steelix, I like Snorlax, I like Wailord, and this gives me a chance to play all 3 of them, so I'm kind of in on this, quite frankly. Now, in terms of energy, we've got a slightly weird energy line here. We've got 4 copies of Twin Energy. Now, this isn't strange at all. It's 2 colorless energy when attached to a non-GX, non-V Pokemon. Clearly, it's amazing. The deck chooses not to play triple acceleration energy, though I would recommend sticking 1 or 2 in there. I mean, at least if you put 2 in there, you've got 6 attacks. Although, having said that, this deck doesn't actually play any recovery for Steelix, so maybe it doesn't matter. Although I would consider playing some of that as well. And then we've got 4 copies of Capture Energy. That is the one whereby you attach it, and then you get to search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench. Clearly, this is good for helping you set up. And then 2 copies of Draw Energy. When you attach it, you get to draw a card. Clearly, this is just a little bit of extra draw. Now, in terms of trainers, we know that Japan is... It is a little bit different to us at the moment, so we need to see the cards that they've got that we don't. The cards that rotated for us, but not for them. Lurball. That's it. And don't get me wrong, Lurball is a great, great card. You flip 3 coins for each head, you put an evolution Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand. Clearly that is used to get these evolutions, these water evolutions, back into your hand. But you only played 3, you didn't play the full 4, and it's a flippy card. It sucks, don't get me wrong, I'm not arguing that it doesn't. But I am saying that there are ways around it. It's not the end of the world. We can play a bit more Pokemon recovery. Incidentally, yes, you can use this to recover Steelix, but you can't use it to recover Onix. You know, play a bit more Pokemon Search. Play an ordinary Rod or 2. You will probably be okay in the end. Now, in terms of Pokemon Search, there's no actual Quick Ball in the deck, which is very weird. We're just playing 4 copies of Great Ball, because it can get all of your stage 1s that you need to discard with Steelix. Yes, it's a little bit weird that we're not playing any cards to specifically search out our basics, but do remember we are playing Capture Energy. There's then 4 copies of Evolution Incense. Again, this is a deck where you need to be searching out those evolutions to get the big KOs. If you end up 1 Pokemon away from getting a KO and then your opponent drops a Mallow and Lana and puts a new free prize Pokemon in the active while healing, that's the kind of thing that loses you games. So being able to get all of those evolutions is kind of key. We play 4 copies of Scoop Up Net here. That can heal up your Steelix, but it can also get your Snorlax out the active, which is pretty important. And then because we're using our supporters for other things, we're playing 3 copies of Pokemon Catcher. Guess anything you like on a coin flip. Do we want to be using the coin flip? No, blatantly we don't. Do we basically have to because we can't afford to play a supporter card that Gus? Yes. Yes, we do, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen. We definitely do. There's a copy of a Reset Stamp here. Forces your opponent to shuffle their hand into their deck. Draw a new hand equal to the number of cards in their prizes, the remaining prizes. It's a one of in a lot of decks. And then our stadium of choice has 1 copy of Chaotic Swell. It's a great counter stadium because your opponent plays a stadium, you play this to replace it, and then when they play their next stadium, it actually gets discarded immediately. So this is actually a really good option for essentially taking out 2 stadiums in 1, which is very, very cool. And then in terms of supporters, we've mentioned Nessa already. We've also got free copies of Pokemaniac. Remember, that is a card that lets you search your deck for free Pokemon with a retreat cost of exactly 4. So it will search out your Steelix and your Onix and the ones you want to discard. It's pretty nice. And remember, Nessa only recovers, so you need Pokemaniac in the early game. And then we've got free copies of Birdkeeper. It's a switch that draws you free cards. You play a lot of high retreat Pokemon. You need to get your Snorlax in and out the active. Birdkeeper makes an awful lot of sense. I worry that it's going to be too hard to get all of the Pokemon you need every turn. I worry that if you're relying on Nessa, you're not going to have enough draw power. But somebody's going to want a little tournament with this over in Japan, and frankly, this is exactly my kind of deck. I'm super excited, and when Vivid Voltage drops, this is definitely one that I am going to be having a whole bunch of play around with. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.